Just briefly, again, to recap, proud of our defense as I have been all season. Those guys continue to show up each and every week and really played well again on Saturday, but was proud of the strides that the offense made. I think, you know, we've been playing well. It wasn't that we were playing awful offensively, but we just found a way, as very evident in the Cincinnati game, of kind of shooting ourselves in the foot in critical situations, and I thought the offense did a much better job of finding a rhythm and finishing drives. So again, proud of the entire team this week. Obviously took a kickoff return for a touchdown. Got to get better on our punt team and our punt return team. I thought they were just average, but overall a pretty good night. And then now it's on to our 4th football game in 19 days, and got in at about 2 in the morning Sunday morning, and so we let the kids sleep in, but our coaches were here at 7 a.m. Yesterday, and practiced late last night. Got off the field about 9:30. Our coaches were here until about 11:15 last night, and then back up here again at 6 a.m. So it's been a long few days for our coaching staff. Questions? I thought this was going to be a quick.
Tom, last night in addressing the LSU thing, you said that it doesn't bother you anymore, that you were going to stop going on radio shows or tweeting and just let people say what they want to say. Why did you change your heart in that mentality?
Well, I think that the change of heart is that it doesn't matter. One, I think everybody knows now how I feel. I'm not changing the way that I feel. Maybe that came across a little bit wrong. Maybe just changing how I go about expressing those feelings, because again, me ranting and raving about it's not going to change it. I still think irresponsible journalism is more and more prevalent today than it ever has been, and it's it stinks because it affects people's lives and livelihoods, and there's no recourse and no repercussion. But again, I've been on record many times saying, I mean, we all get it wrong. I mean, we're all wrong. Last time I checked, nobody has ever been right on everything they've done. But if you're wrong, just say I was wrong. And I got a lot of respect for people, especially journalists, that can admit that. But that doesn't seem to be the case in today's climate. Nobody is really held accountable for being wrong because of the age that we live in. So rather than me, again, ranting and raving, I got to spend my energy focused on a lot more productive things, because I'm not going to change it. I don't know what will or if it ever will, but it is the nature of the beast in today's collegiate and professional sports climate, and we got to understand that a lot of these guys, so-called journalists, are not.
When it comes to this particular one, you mentioned that you felt like your team is handled like pros. Is this one specifically that you addressed with them, or was it kind of more of a general thing that you told them? It's
been general throughout the years that I've been here, the 2 years that it's really a non-issue, and we are so very open and honest in our program that if it was, I would know about it, and it's not an issue, because I think our guys have been educated enough to know that whatever they need to hear about me is going to come from me, and it's going to be the truth.
When you first heard the news, did it kind of, here we go again, kind of cross through your mind?
No, I mean, if I did that, I'd be saying, here we go again, a lot. So it's just the nature. You guys like talking about things. It's your job to talk about things. So, and it's my job to make sure that a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds play really hard on game day and execute really well. So it's really doesn't creep into our lives very much.
Coach, you mentioned staying focused. How pleased are you? Fourth game in 19 days, but your team seems to be locked in and focused each time out.
Yeah, obviously it could have been a bit of a letdown going on the road for the second week in a row, having come off a big win on the road at Cincinnati, and then obviously knowing what's coming down the pipe with a short week to get ready for UConn. Certainly, a lot of teams would have maybe not come out with quite the focus and energy and passion that our team did, and yeah, it is a sense of pride for our guys that we're going to come out each and every week and play, because you're only guaranteed very few of these games, and the fun for these guys is on Saturdays or Thursdays or Fridays, or it's game day. The fun is not in the preparation, so game days are fun, and they go cut it loose.
Are you working every day to find new ways to get Derek the ball?
Yes and no. I think we've got a lot of weapons offensively that we can use. He's certainly one of them. Had a great night against Texas State, and he'll continue to see the football as long as he continues to be productive and protects the football. But we're not going to go overboard either.
Coach, I know you want to be physical in practice and all that stuff, but at the same time, you've mentioned keeping these guys fresh. So how kind of specifically you handle that, and how will you handle that this week to get them ready to go?
Well, we were in pads yesterday. I mean, you go play a game, night game on the road, you get home at 2 in the morning, and then 7 o'clock at night, you're back in pads out there practicing. It's just how we do it. I think probably the only thing that we've done is limit the time on the field. So normally a practice for us, a Tuesday practice, would be 24 5-minute periods, so about 2 hours. And within that 2 hours, you've got a lot of individual time, just the wideouts working their specific drills. Excuse me. Where on a short week like this, you kind of eliminate some of that stuff. Hope there's carryover from the weeks prior from training camp, and kind of jump right into just your scout team work, so that they can on all sides of the ball get prepared for the specific looks that they're going to see from Connecticut, and then get off the field. So we were, I think, yesterday a 16 period, 5-minute period practice, so only about an hour and 20 minutes. And then today we're 17 period practice. So, but we've still got the same amount of scout team period, the same amount of physicality. Just we're on the field a little bit less because we've got some periods out.
Tom, last week
at your coach's show, you had mentioned that Dylan Burton was probably your number 2 back at that point. He gets in the game, scores. I was curious, what's been the path for this guy? I mean, he goes from walk-on at Bland to you're using him at DB in preseason camp, now back to running back. I mean, just where does this guy come from?
I don't know. I called his head coach after, I can't even know how the days are running together. I think it was after the Cincinnati game, and Ed Pajowski at Cy-Fair, and thanked him for the quality of young man that he had sent our way. And I don't do that very often, but I wanted Ed to know that it's been a pleasure to coach this young man since we got to know him, and he goes really, really hard in practice. He's a natural athlete, which is why when we needed him at DB, that was a natural thing to do. Obviously, he didn't know all the technical things to do, but learned them very quickly. And then once we got Kadarian back, and we still weren't very pleased with where we were at backup tailback, moved him back over, and the kid just continues to do everything right, and you know, he's rewarded with that by playing time and carrying the football.
He was on his way to Northwestern State, he said, so.
Is that right? I don't even know. I hadn't really sat down and talked to him much about his story. You know, I'm glad he's here and not at Northwestern State, but probably when I can come up for air, maybe on Friday, maybe I'll sit down and talk to him about his story. But we've been a little bit busy these last couple weeks.
Read the Chronicle.
Oh yeah, there you go. I'll read it in the Chronicle. There you go.
Tom, right here. Obviously, second year entering the UConn game without a loss. How much added motivation is there for the players and coaching staff for Thursday?
Not much that we talk about. I'd be foolish to think that, you know, our players that are on this team now that were on last year's team don't think about it as a chance for redemption. You know, this program has lost one football game since the beginning of December 2014, and had a lot of big wins in that 2-year span. And we have this program has had one loss, and it's to the University of Connecticut. And you know, so we don't talk about it much. Obviously, I mean, it's just the next one on the schedule. But I think there's a bit of internal, you know, sense of the ability for atonement, maybe, to right some of the wrongs that occurred in last year's game. And I know this is a real thing.
That time of year.
Yep.
After playing it in RG in that one game and then having the crazy 3.5-hour lightning delay, does it kind of feel like y'all haven't really played at home? Are you excited to have like a regular home game finally?
Well, it's Thursday night too, so that definitely doesn't feel regular. But yeah, as long as the weather cooperates, I think it'll be finally a normal home game atmosphere, night game. The place should be packed and rocking, especially with a national television audience. I think, yeah, it feels like it's been a long time since we've had a normal home game.
Since Oliver came to you until now, how have you seen him grow, like as a person and as a player?
He's maturing. I wouldn't call him mature, but he's maturing. And by that I mean, you know, he was, as most 18-year-olds are, had some trouble staying locked in and paying attention for long periods of time. And I think now he's learning from some of the veterans, learning from Coach Giles. He's an unbelievable mentor and coach for him, and you can see him grow up each and every week. I think he's attacking his job in a much more professional manner now than he did when he first got here.
Tom, it seems like on your roster you have a lot of versatile guys, whether it be Derek or Brandon Wilson, Kyle Postma. Is that mere coincidence, or is there something to that for this program?
Derek is and Kyle is not coincidence. I think, you know, you want to recruit athletic quarterbacks that when in a pinch, you know, Kyle was in the exact same spot that Derek was or is in now. Kyle was in that spot last year where we had to move him to receiver in training camp, and probably would have stayed there the whole season had Adam Schultz not got injured. And so those two, you don't ever want to have to move a guy and kind of flip-flop him around, but it's definitely nice to have that ability. Now with Brandon, I mean, you know, kudos to the previous staff for recruiting him and getting him here, because yeah, he's a very versatile. I mean, shoot, the guy rushed for 100-some-odd yards and 2 touchdowns in one of the biggest games in this program's history. So, having never played college tailback before, so I think, you know, at the skill positions, you want versatility, you want athleticism, you want a guy that has explosiveness and change of direction. Top end speed is very unimportant I think it's very overrated in football. Football is a game of change of direction. It's not a game of straight line sprinter speed, or else, you know, all the guys in the Olympics would be playing football too. But it's a game of change of direction and hip mobility and hip explosion. And anytime you have an opportunity to recruit and bring in guys like that, regardless of position, I think it helps.
Tom, you'd mentioned that in the UConn really hasn't been a big topic of discussion or getting motivation from that. But how much do you think about it personally, and what did you learn from that game that you think maybe has made you a little bit better as a coach?
I don't think about it much personally in terms of, I mean, it's newsflash, I'm probably not going to go undefeated, or wasn't, hadn't we won that game even in my career. So it's going to happen, but you learn from it. And what did I learn? I think you learn, certainly I go back to, you know, offensively, I think we were very stubborn in terms of our approach, in terms of trying to lean on the inside run game a little bit, knowing that was the strength of their defense. And then I learned that teams get tired. You know, that game came on the heels of a 3-game stretch where it was Vanderbilt, Cincinnati, Memphis, all really good, hard fought, down to the wire. Well, Vanderbilt wasn't down to the wire, but, you know, Cincinnati and Memphis certainly was down to the wire games that took a lot out of our football team. And UConn was coming off a bye week, and they were at home. And so I think I learned that, you know, you've got to be very mindful of the state of your team week to week in terms of their mental and physical exhaustion level too, and make sure that you take every step necessary to make sure that they're in peak mental and physical condition when the foot hits the ball on game day.
Tom, you talked about 4 games in 19 days, and you talk about making sure your team is at physical and mental peak. Are they kind of where you want them to be in terms of, this season has already been crazy, weather delays, lots of games, big games, Oklahoma, ESPN game. Is this what you guys kind of prepared for? Are you seeing what you want?
Yeah, I am. Again, this is a grind. You know, 4 games in 19 days on the heels of how hard our training camp is. This is a grind, and I told our guys yesterday in our team meeting, I said, you know, whatever you got left, that's what we need this week. And we'll take a deep breath on Friday and Saturday and regroup. I say that, I think we play Navy the next week on the road. So we'll take as big a deep a breath as we can and try to get our bodies and our spirits back. But right now it's pedal to the metal, go, and you know, what's the old saying? We'll sleep when we're dead, kind of deal. That's a bit how it feels right now. But you know, these guys, again, I keep going back to the maturity level of this team. Very workmanlike, very professional, very mature football team. That I think they understand that, you know, we can't control the schedule, we can't control the weather, we can't control who is on the schedule when they fall. What we can control is how we prepare and the effort and energy that we put into our preparation each and every day, and I think they responded well.
Tom, after the loss last year to UConn, you mentioned that you wrote pages and pages of notes after that game. Was there anything that stuck with you that you took away from the immediate introspection after that loss?
Try to think. Maybe it's just what I said about, you know, just maybe always having your finger on the pulse of your team in terms of its mental and physical state, especially coming off the 3 games that we had come off of back to back. Made me much more aware and observant of those things.
Tom, 6 for 6 in the red zone in Texas State. You've said that about shooting yourselves in the foot. I'm assuming you'll tweak some variation, but what's been the difference, the bigger change in turning that around?
Our O-line's playing better. We were not playing real good in the first few games, and you got to run the ball down there because of the obviously it's it's geometry or whatever it be, physics. I'm not good at that stuff, but obviously that you got more bodies in less area, less space, and so to throw the football becomes very difficult. So you got to be able to run the football, and we weren't doing that very well the first 3 games, and I thought our O-line grew up a little bit on Saturday against Texas State in terms of the way we ran the football in the red zone.
Speaking of the O-line, you at least with the depth chart, there's some changes with, I believe, Elof is back, and Oliver, and I forgot who else you had on the right side. I think there was a tweak, but are those just week to week?
Yeah, we had Marcus had earned the spot. Elof was really because Alex Fontana had an infection in his elbow in the game. He got it after Cincinnati and actually spent a couple days in the hospital getting that thing drained and all that good stuff. So he was available in the game, but hadn't practiced very much, so we had to start Cam. And it's listed that way because that's how we started the game last week, and that's how we practiced at least yesterday. But Mason Denley and Alex Fontana will certainly be in that mix. Mac Long got dinged up a little bit, so he's going to try to move around a little bit, but won't be in pads today. So even if he's available, he'll be limited. But the battle right now is between Marcus Oliver, Cam Elof, Mason Denley, and Alex Fontana at those 2 guard spots.
Tom, how do you go about attacking UConn's defense?
I don't want to give away everything. I know it's very difficult to run the football inside. There are 2 defensive tackles. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name. Number 93 and number 92 are about as good at defensive tackles as you'll find in our league. And they're big, really big. So I think, and the unique part about their defense in the 3-4 is if you do the math, so there's 3 down linemen, 4 linebackers. So you try to run the ball, every time you try to run the ball, there's 7 guys in or around the box. But then on 1st and 2nd down, when you try to throw it, they drop all those guys out. Now there's 8 guys in coverage. And so a very unique scheme, very effective scheme, obviously. They've been very good on defense. I think we've got to get the ball in our playmakers' hands a little bit, maybe out in space a little bit. And, we've got to pick our spots on when and how to run the ball inside. We're not going to abandon that because that's who we are, and I think we're better up front now than we were at this time or in this game last year. But I think we've got to make a little bit more concerted effort to maybe get the ball away from all those big bodies inside.
Seemed like Oklahoma, Cincinnati presented some similar challenges up front. Do you think that maybe that has helped from a preparation standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Cincinnati's 2 defensive tackles were they dominated the inside run game, and by the schematic structure of Oklahoma as well. So yeah, I think we learned some valuable lessons in terms of what's good, what's not good, but we also, I think that the offensive line gained valuable experience in how to generate some momentum on offense.
And then with Ty Cummings and the missed extra points, did you guys Todd, was it just a mechanical thing or what?
I leave him alone.
Okay.
He had a bad day. I mean, he knows much more about what he did wrong. The first one, they both were just he mishit him. You know, the first one, he swiped at it right to left, and then the second one, he hit it dang near on the very top of it and barely got off the ground. And so he had a bad day, and it doesn't. I mean, we have tremendous amount of confidence. He also kicked a bunch that went in and kicked the field goal as well. So we got a lot of confidence in him.
They announced that the second one was blocked. That going back, it wasn't.
It was.
It was.
The second one was blocked because it was about this high off the ground.
Tom, you guys have given up 42 points in 4 games. How good is this defense right now in your opinion?
Good. I mean, I don't know.
Why is it that good?
Because we can stop the run. You make teams one-dimensional if you can stop the run, especially if you can stop the run without adding hats, adding bodies to the box. Then you're going to make life difficult for offenses, and we're doing that right now. Good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.